Sugar is worse than we think. Sugar is a very big factor, probably the number one factor in obesity, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease. Sugar is associated with general chronic inflammation all across the body. Sugar is associated with cancer. Matter of fact, sugar is considered like a food for cancer, essentially. And yet, sugar is in almost every food that we consume in the American diet. Cereal, Pop Tarts and stuff like that, donuts, juice, crackers, cookies, soda, coffee, energy drinks, sweet tea, bagels, most sliced bread that you can buy in the grocery store. We were told that that stuff was part of a good balanced diet. And that is absolutely false. False. Y'all, sugar is a problem. And a lot of us are addicted to sugar and we don't really realize that we are, but we're accepting of it. And it's because we've been taught that way. It's because sugar is included in everything processed that we consume. Keeps us from being able to lose weight, causes us to start developing chronic health issues that we attribute to natural aging, which is absolutely false. It's false, y'all. It is false. All right. In this episode, I want to talk about sugar. I want to talk about sugar. I am convinced that we have no idea. The average person has no idea how bad sugar is. Sugar, in my opinion, is the acceptable addiction. You know, it's various drugs that are illegal, cocaine and you know, amphetamines and all kind of stuff that is illegal, because of the harmful effects on the human body as well as on society. Um, yeah, but I believe that sugar is an acceptable addiction. I don't mean that it's okay. I mean, for some reason, society labels it as okay. For some reason, we don't recognize how bad sugar is. Sugar is worse than we think. Okay. And, before, you didn't really hear a whole lot about sugar, at least up until, at least not unless it's, discussion about not eating too much sugar so you don't rot out your teeth or something like that. But it turns out, and you don't have to just like trust me. I do a lot of reading and research into all this kind of stuff. Look it up yourself. Sugar is associated with all kinds of problems. Now, we talk a lot about obesity and overweight here, and obviously sugar is huge when it comes to that. Sugar is a very big reason for that. Probably the top reason, to be honest. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But sugar is a very big factor, probably the number one factor in obesity. It's also associated with high blood pressure. I mentioned in a recent episode that, contrary to popular belief, sugar apparently could be a higher contributor, a much greater contributor to high blood pressure than salt is. Now that seems weird until you understand what sugar actually does to the body. And I think with sugar, it was something having to do with the effect of sugar on the ability of blood vessels to to kind of like dilate and open up and stuff like that. So I think that's what it was, but you had to go to that episode and check that out. But sugar is associated with type 2 diabetes. We already kind of know that. Sugar is associated with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Matter of fact, some call Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes, in case you didn't know that. And one day I'll probably do an episode on that. Sugar is associated with general chronic inflammation all across the body, which is implicated in a ton of different diseases, autoimmune diseases, all kind of diseases. Sugar is associated with cancer. Matter of fact, sugar is considered like a food for cancer, essentially. And yet, sugar is in almost every food that we consume in the American diet. Now, let me go ahead and say this. When I say that, I can say that confidently because the average American diet does not consist largely of whole foods, foods that are in their more natural state. You're talking vegetables, fruits, meats, you know, dairy for some. I try not to consume a whole lot of dairy. Um, because I'm not as convinced that dairy is as much of a health food. But that's kind of like me personally. Um, but unless you're consuming foods, legumes, um, and grains eaten responsibly. So, but unless you're consuming foods in their more natural state, then everything that you are consuming in a package has sugar in it. It has sugar. And this is the reason why we spend so much money on healthcare in the United States of America. And until we as people learn to associate, all of these health problems that we're dealing with our high sugar consumption, our addiction to sugar, then we're going to always be in the dark. We're going to always be dealing with health problems. I mean, I meant to say we're going to be always dealing with weight problems and getting these incomplete solutions to our weight problems because we're still consuming sugar and we don't want to let go of that. Think about that. Um, Something just was coming to my mind. It didn't quite get there. But think about if you have something, I'm a follower of Christ, and there's a scripture passage that essentially talks about, and I can't remember off the top of my head where it is, but it talks about how the believer is called to be free. And I'm a firm believer that every person who is living should have the opportunity to be free. And when I say free, I'm not just talking about freedom from slavery or oppression, it includes that. But even just freedom to live without being bound to anything. If we have something that we feel like we can't do without, and this is something I've been saying for a few years, it's probably a good idea that we need to do without it. When it comes to food, if there is something that you feel like you can't do without coffee, you can't do without soda, you can't do without bread, you can't do without juice. It's probably a good idea that you it's probably a good idea for you to do without it. Now, I know that can be shocking to the system to hear that, but as long as you are bound to something, then and you feel like you can't pull away from it, then Houston, we have a problem. Because case in point, sugar. With high consumption of sugar being so problematic, if you're bound to it, then that means you're bound to those consequences as well. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to understand that. So if you that's why I say I don't think it's any sort of issue if you eat dessert once in a while, if you drink a soda every once in a while, that type of thing. But us walking around consuming this stuff all day, every day, knowing, especially those of us who are older, knowing that we didn't really consume this stuff like this when we were younger. I remember my mom and dad would literally, if they bought us a candy bar from the grocery store, then we could only eat half of it during that day. Only half of it. But now it's just anything goes everywhere. I think about how my daughter literally gets at least one piece of candy from school every day. And unfortunately, a lot of times, sometimes, she'll try to eat it before we see it. That's that's a whole nother thing. But like literally kids getting candy all day, every day. We got kids eating breakfasts that are just saturated with sugar. Y'all, we don't understand how bad these breakfasts are that we're eating. You're going getting sugary coffee. Usually it's not even just like a regular coffee. It's usually like coffee that has sugary cream with extra sugar, syrup, like caramel syrup, all that kind of stuff, hyper sugar. Eating a donut or something like that with that. perhaps, and or a bagel might even have juice as well. And then we're drinking sugary coffee all day long. And then maybe having soda all day long, or you know, turning up these energy drinks. And then we're wondering, man, but I don't eat that much. I don't eat that much. This is why. And I'm going to do an episode probably in the next couple of days talking about how all calories are not created equal, and kind of go a little bit more into that, because a lot of people are kind of wondering, like, I don't eat very much, but I still have issues losing weight. It's because of, most likely, it is because of the composition of the food that you're eating. And, that's just it, because we've been kind of taught certain ways about the way food works that are just wrong. So think about this: cereal, Pop Tarts, and stuff like that, donuts, juice, crackers, cookies, soda, coffee, energy drinks, sweet tea, bagels, most sliced bread that you can buy in the grocery store. And the list goes on and on and on. And we were actually told at some point, especially when it comes to like the crackers and the breads and things, we were told that that stuff was part of a good balanced diet. And that is absolutely false. False. The thing is, all of those packaged goods have sugar, especially in the form of fructose. Fructose, fructose. That's like the main culprit. And you probably have heard that in high fructose corn syrup. That's the main culprit, and it is. I'm not going to go into all the scientific details. I'm actually going to include in the notes a couple of podcasts I want you to listen to. Huberman Lab, my favorite health related podcast, really, really in depth, but great information. I appreciate Andrew Huberman, um, and in particular the episode he did with Dr. Robert Lustig, and then Dr. Hyman, one of the original, sorry about that, one of the OGs of functional medicine and health, comprehensive health and whatnot. Um, I'm gonna include those for you to listen to, because I'm not like even though I listen to it, I'm not like the person who goes and does all the research like that. I go and read the research. But y'all, sugar is a problem. And a lot of us are addicted to sugar, and we don't really realize that we are, but we're accepting of it. And it's because we've been taught that way. It's because sugar is included in everything processed that we consume. And we're running through life eating stuff on the fly, and it is sugary. Most of it has sugar in it. And so, and it's the sugar that has effects on our brain, addictive effects, such that it keeps us coming back, keeps us coming back, keeps us coming back, keeps us from being able to lose weight, causes us to start developing chronic health issues that we attribute to natural aging, which is absolutely false. It's false, y'all. It is false. It's false. I'm a certified personal trainer, and a lot of times I'm talking about exercise, and I'm talking about nutrition as it pertains to exercise, body composition, and stuff like that. But it's important to understand that this stuff goes way deeper than how your body looks. It goes so much deeper than that. You can't stop there. That's why I can't stop there. Because we are wrecking our bodies. And then the weight issues that we're having are just side effects of a bigger problem. And sugar is one of the main reasons. Literally, and I know now high fructose corn syrup has a bad image in our country as of a few years ago, but there are literally countries, like a lot of countries in Europe and whatnot, that have actually been banned high fructose corn syrup, as well as all kind of other additives that we still allow to this day in our society and whatnot. And it's really, really frustrating to me. There's a scripture, and before I even quote it, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up, because I want to be able to like quote it properly. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Um, hold on a second. I'm sorry, y'all. So it doesn't really matter a lot of times. Um, I don't know. We have these things that we won, and we're like, well, I'll be all right. Okay, hold on a second. Here it is. Yep, yep. Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6 in the Bible. It says this, and I want to pull it up in the NASB here. Okay. All right. So just the A portion, as we like to say. It says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." So sometimes we kind of feel like if we're just kind of ignorant to an issue, that we're good. You just don't really pay attention to it, but you're only deceiving yourself. The scripture says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." You don't know about something. It doesn't matter. That lack of knowledge doesn't somehow protect you. It more so just kind of like makes you ignorant to the damage that you're causing. And I don't say ignorant in like a some sort of like demeaning way. I just mean like you don't know. You don't know. But we have people developing, we got kids developing diabetes out here, y'all. We got kids developing what's called fatty liver disease. I learned about that maybe last year. Dr. Hyman was talking about going to a conference um, where um, it was like a pediatric doctor he was talking to who was talking about kids developing fatty liver disease. Now, if you know anything about that or if you've heard about it before, it's probably in the context of alcoholism, people developing fatty liver from alcohol. But like literally, this pediatric doctor was saying that kids are developing fatty liver disease from all the sugar that they're consuming because it's literally causing the liver to just get stuffed with fat and to malfunction. And like kids are having to get liver transplants. Now, the liver is an incredibly important organ. It's incredibly important for your body. Like literally, you can't live without your liver. You can't. Um, but we don't know about these things, y'all. We don't know about these things, and we're kind of stuck in this way of thinking about stuff where we just kind of make it all about. It's just all about just the fat loss portion of it, and it's never about anything deeper than that. Until later on when we start to develop chronic illnesses from this consumption, high consumption of sugar over years and years and years and years that's steadily kind of broken the body down. But even then, we're not really taught to treat it at the root. We're not taught to treat it at the root. We're taught to take stuff for it and whatnot, and we continue to consume um, sugar and other just horrible additives in abundance while we kind of try to deal with whatever kind of illnesses and whatnot. So sometimes I kind of feel like what they say, like the canary in the coal mine. You know how they would put a canary in the coal mine. I think like if it stopped singing or whatever, because it had died because maybe the level of ash or whatever it was so high. That's how they knew that it was time to get out or something like that. Sometimes I kind of feel like that because I get really troubled at how uninformed we are and how we really don't understand to the degree we're destroying ourselves. We don't understand and we kind of keep on relegating it to we keep on putting it off. Like I have time. I have time. I have time. But at this stage in my life, Lord God, at this stage in my life, I've known so many people who have died or to the least suffered because of this type of stuff, because of excess sugar. And they would never have associated what they dealt with, at least in large part, with the sugar in their diets, in every food that they consume, and all the other additives and things. Y'all, our lack of knowing about how bad sugar is not protective. It's not. Sugar is causing you to have health issues. I mean, it's causing you to have weight issues. And the sugar, it's like even the anyhow, let me just say this, and I'm gonna let this be it. Sugar's causing your weight issues. It is. Sugar and the high consumption of starchy foods, probably in that order. But I don't even, it doesn't even have to be like that. The other thing is sugar is associated with, I heard on the podcast, they said like 75% of the diseases that we deal with in our society. 75%. We got a decision to make. Are we going to be in control and not let sugar overwhelm our diets and cause us to be addicted? Or are we just going to let this happen like this and to keep on kicking the can and thinking, oh, I'll be okay, I'll be okay, I'll be okay? Don't let sugar control you, man. Don't let sugar control you. Sugar is a lot more problematic than you're used to thinking. It is. It's more problematic than I'm used to thinking because I used to associate it with teeth problems. I associate it with being overweight, sure. Um, but I keep on seeing how deep the rabbit hole goes as far as how problematic sugar is for the body and how much it contributes to disease potentially. Please hear what I'm saying, y'all. Please. And please know as well that you can have control over your sweet tooth. If you're going to actually enjoy health, along as they say, health span, quality and quantity of life, aging not prematurely, but like aging gracefully, not having, even like, your skin being of good quality as you age, stuff like that. If you want that, then you have to be in control of sugar. There ain't no way around it. There is no way around that. All right. Anyhow, I just pray that this doesn't fall on deaf ears, that this is not merely a podcast that that is just taking up space on a hard drive somewhere. If you heard this and it impacted you, it made you think, comment below, man. And better than that, share it with a friend, share it with your family. Okay. I'm gonna link to a couple of podcasts that I think would be good to kind of go more so into the medical and scientific parts of this stuff. So you won't just think I'm just pulling this stuff out of the air. But pay attention too. It's like and stay tuned for the other episode I record soon about how all calories are not created equal, because that's going to be really good too, but let me not get ahead of myself. Remember, patreon.com/Sean B2B Fitness. If you want to be able to submit questions for my webinars, if you want access to my mini workouts, my fat loss workbook, all that is on there when you become a gold level patron. And you support what I do here on the podcast with the webinars, the newsletter, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and always remember that your doctor is not responsible for your health. You are. God bless you.